Angela Merkel is set to restart crisis talks to form a coalition to save her 12-year rule this morning after marathon discussions failed because of serious differences between the sides. The parties aimed to wrap up the talks last night but failed to reach an agreement after haggling for 15 hours, with disagreements said to be focused on migration caps and the environment. The Christian Democrats leader is trying to form an untested alliance with the pro-business Free Democrats, FDP, and the environmentalist Greens, with snap elections likely if no agreement can be reached. Merkel, 63, was left badly weakened by the inconclusive election last month, which saw the far-right Alternative for Germany, AfD, lure millions of her voters, leading to fears another poll could help consolidate their support. Talks between the Jamaica coalition, so-called because each party's colors match the Caribbean islands' flag, are due to continue at 11 a.m. today, 7 hours after they drew to a close in the early hours. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, also leader of the conservative Christian Democratic Union, CDU, party, arrives for talks with members of potential coalition parties. Merkel last night appealed to party leaders to put themselves in each other's shoes before going back to the negotiating table. But it was clear the discussions were running into difficulty, with senior FDP official Alexander Lambsdorff writing on Twitter about serious faces. "We decided jointly that we should use the coming days to overcome the differences that still exist," said the Free Democrats leader, Christian Lindner. "We will use this weekend to achieve a good solution," Merkel's chief of staff, Peter Altmaier, told ARD television. "I think the problems can be solved," he said. The Greens and the Bavarian wing of the Conservatives, the Christian Social Union, CSU, even accused each other of blocking an agreement. Merkel tried to break the logjam on climate by offering to reduce coal power generating capacity by 7 gigawatts, GW, sources familiar with the talks said. That is still shy of the 10 GW cut demanded by the Greens, but up from the earlier offer of 5 GW. "We have very, very different positions," she told reporters earlier on Thursday. "If it works, I think it can work, there can be a positive result at the end of today's negotiations. But this is a difficult task. I expect the negotiations will go on for hours. I am ready to make my contribution." Merkel is under pressure from her own conservative bloc, in particular her Bavarian allies, the Christian Social Union, CSU, not to compromise too much to secure a coalition deal, in particular on immigration. At stake is a conservative plan to cap the number of people Germany will accept per year on humanitarian grounds at 200,000, a limit the environmentalist Greens reject. "I don't know if we can resolve all the discrepancies, all the disagreements," said Joachim Herrmann, a senior member of the CSU, sister party of Merkel's Christian Democrats, CDU. Trying to find a new Angela, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, pictured with French President Emmanuel Macron yesterday, has to agree with her coalition partners to start negotiations today or Germany faces a snap election. Jens Spahn, a senior CDU member, told the Passauer Neue Presse, "There won't be a coalition at any price." Talks over the past few weeks have been quarrelsome, as the parties are far apart on the political spectrum and differ on everything from refugees to climate protection and EU reforms. They have been pushed together by September's inconclusive election, which left Merkel badly weakened as the far-right Alternative for Germany, AfD, lured away millions of voters. Merkel, eyeing a fourth term as Chancellor, gave the coalition hopefuls until November 16 to reach an agreement in principle, with the goal of having a new government in place by Christmas. Related articles previous. 1. 2 next. Britain must spell out what it will pay in a Brexit divorce. Germany's Merkel dodges coal deadline at climate talks. Brexit trade talks are unlikely to start before Christmas. Share this article. Share script dm.later, bundle, function, if, dm.rotator, new dm.rotator, p22, page size, 1, page count, 2.0, active class, active, rotate, false, $, number p22.share, .on, click, function, dms.facebook.post related. If the Conservatives, the Greens, and the FDP can't pull together, there's no way to avoid new elections, Der Spiegel News Weekly wrote. No one wants that. But is that enough to justify an alliance? The potential tie-up, dubbed a Jamaica coalition because the party's colors match those of the Jamaican flag, is untested at the national level, and how stable such a government would be is anyone's guess. The final round of pre-coalition talks is expected to run late into the night as party officials tackle thorny outstanding issues, including migration. Mindful of the anger over the 2015 refugee influx that helped carry the anti-Islam AfD into the Bundestag lower house of parliament, the Conservatives are eager to tighten asylum policy. Merkel's Bavarian CSU sister party wants to go even further by calling for a cap on migrant numbers. Yes, We Jamaican, the coalition, named a Jamaica coalition because the party's colors match those of the Jamaican flag, are still disagreeing on several issues, namely immigration. But that is anathema to the Greens, who are pushing to ease restrictions on family reunifications for asylum seekers. The Greens will likely dig in their heels after already watering down key campaign pledges to unblock contentious talks on the environment. Greens leader Seamus Demir abandoned demands for a 2030 end date for coal-fired plants and the internal combustion engine, and called on other parties to also show some flexibility. You build bridges together or not at all, he told the Bild newspaper. But his proposals to make polluting diesel cars less attractive and close the country's 20 dirtiest coal plants have met with resistance from the Conservatives and the FDP, who worry about job losses and disrupting the mighty auto and energy sectors. On the eve of the talks deadline, the sniping and mudslinging continued to play out in the media, with the CSU's outspoken negotiator Alexander Dobrindt accusing the Greens of clinging to ancient demands. The Greens' political director Michael Kellner hit back at the CSU's irresponsible behavior. The only conclusion to draw from Dobrindt's daily insults is that he wants the talks to fail, Kellner complained. Despite the rifts on display, the parties have been able to reach some broad agreements in recent weeks. At a time when the state coffers are bulging, they have committed to maintaining Germany's cherished balanced budget. They have also agreed to improve the nation's outdated internet infrastructure, invest more in education and increase child benefits. The parties, who are broadly pro-EU, also made some headway on Europe after the liberal Free Democrats dropped their demand to wind down the Eurozone's bailout fund. Should a Jamaica government emerge, French President Emmanuel Macron could find in Merkel a willing and much-needed co-pilot in his ambitious drive to reform the bloc, although his plans for a Eurozone budget and finance minister will still prove divisive in Berlin. As the clock ticks down towards the crunch deadline, commentators say all sides will want to avoid triggering snap polls that could end up bolstering the AfD. Surveys suggest there is little appetite for a return to the ballot box, and some two-thirds of voters say they expect the coalition negotiations to succeed. The stakes are especially high for Merkel, Europe's most powerful woman, who is still smarting from the bruising she received over her decision to allow over 1 million asylum seekers into the country. Nobody needs an agreement more than Merkel. After all, she's the one who wants to be re-elected chancellor, the Süddeutsche Zeitung daily wrote.